I would like to welcome you all to the Board of Trustees meeting on Tuesday, April 8th at 6 p.m. This meeting will include our organizational list, a public budget hearing, and then our regular meeting. I'd like, as usual, to begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In the interests of time, I'm going to make a motion that we accept the organizational chart as posted. And I would just have folks note that it has all of our people, and it says at the bottom that we are continuing our current policies as currently written.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yeah, I do. I just want to comment that one of the lawyers has not, as far as I know, submitted a new updated scope and rates letter, and so I would like to see that before we approve that.
Which lawyer?
Mackey Butts and Whalen.
I believe that when he transferred over from McCabe Mack to Mackey Butts and Whalen, all of the rates and schedules remained the same. That was a discussion we had at the time.
He did, but I never saw a contract. I mean, shouldn't they send a letter? I mean, he moved to a new law firm. I'm just dotting my i's and crossing
Sure.
my t's. It just seems like this is a lawyer we're not talking about.
Sure, we can look into that. But I do know that we did get a letter with the rates, and we had that discussion. And anybody else remember this?
We didn't get, I mean, you might have seen a letter, I have not. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, I just didn't know.
We saw it in the meeting.
Yeah, when Rich switched from wherever he was to Mackey Butts, there was a paper trail that was involved. We adopted the paper trail. That is the current contract under which we're working. I don't know why you haven't seen that. I don't know.
Because I've asked for it several times and haven't, that's why I'm concerned. So if there's a paper trail, it's not a problem, I would just like.
There is a paper trail. I'm not entirely sure why you haven't seen the paper trail, but there is a paper trail. We could also request from him an updated engagement letter, but
If there's a paper trail, though, we need
Yeah, no,
to find that paper trail.
We did, because that question did come up at the time of his transfer, and it was answered.
Agreed, but it wasn't answered to me, and I raised the question.
Okay.
That's all I'm
It
saying.
was answered at a meeting, that's my recollection.
I hear that confusion and I hear that frustration. It has been answered. I don't know why you haven't received a letter.
We'll have to dig that up for you.
Please.
Yeah.
Any additional comments? Lydia?
We had, sorry, I just looked it up. On July 9th, 2024, we have a resolution saying that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rhinebeck hereby appoints the law firm of Mackey Butts. Right, but there is no fee associated with it. So we need an updated engagement letter from Mackey Butts. Okay. Yeah.
I think we have another piece of paper that said it was unchanged
Yeah.
somewhere.
I'm just looking at board stuff, so.
Any additional discussion?
So I will vote for it, assuming we do get this letter, okay? I'm delicate.
Thank you.
Fair enough. Thank you, Eleanor. Thank you. Okay, with that, no additional discussion. I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now I'd like to move on to our public hearing for the 2025-2026 budget. The Board of Trustees has spent the last 2+ months going through the budget as proposed by the mayor, and we've haggled and decided and tried to do the best job we can to allocate the funds that we have. I would say I have a note from the mayor, which I'm going to read, in which he says, budgets are not built as a single plan, but a collection of past budgets that have been built on each other. It is more than budgeting the finances. It is also a project plan with many dependencies. When compiling the new budget, all these factors are involved in developing a cohesive plan that's built on outlining goals, methods, and expected outcomes, and key information gained from previous budgets and creating a plan. Some of the information that went into this plan came from our 2+ years of the comprehensive plan project, our need to continue to rebuild our roads, our storm drainage study that identified some key issues that we have to address. We also have learned from factoring in what was learned from previous budget plans. You can identify dependencies between each of the projects. For example, the drainage study is identified a problem on Knollwood where the Safe Routes to School and Grassmere Soho intersect. So that was something we learned in last year's budget, and now we're going to attempt to fix in this year's budget. The plan is also used to create new projects that serve all our residents. This year's budget includes funding to identify the need for a microtransit system for the village. It also addresses a method for helping to maintain our roads with potentially some new methods. All of this goes into a complete budget that stays under the tax cap and remains viable, resilient community. In summary, the revenues in general fund have increased from grants and increased coverage of fire protected district. Expenses have increased with expenditures on the grants, New York State retirement, funding for zoning changes, the microtransit system, and salaries. So with that, I can just give a couple of quick budget highlights. This year, the overall budget appropriates $3,432,240, of which we have revenue, non-tax revenue, of $1,473.67, which leaves a total of $1,958,569 to be raised by taxes. Our current village assessment is $797,180,914, and that translates out to a tax rate of $2.46 per thousand of assessed value. I'm just going to review some of the major items that are some of the major increases. We're now providing for an annual audit, that's $10,000, a new phone system, $12,000, additional equipment for the fire department, $14,950, streets drainage, $53,932, of the mini park drainage, which we have asked for a grant from the county. We don't know, but our portion would be $20,000. Our retirement, New York retirement and police has gone up $85,368. We have put away as a placeholder $50,000 for the development of a microtransit system. This system is still being developed, and this number is basically a placeholder. It's not necessarily allocated, or it's allocated, but it's a placeholder. We also have $148,000 for our zoning code grant and $49,000 for our Asher Dam grant. And what I'd like you to note is that we have, those are expenses, we have equal offsetting revenues of $148,000 for the zoning code and $49,000 for the Asher Dam grant. Other new revenue sources are from Archtop for $20,557. We earn money, thank you, we earn interest, thank you Karen, of $6,000. And we have an additional fire protection, which is bringing $54,000 into the village. For the waterfront, the budget is at $1,293,280, all of which is raised by user fees. So this year's budget includes increases for utilities, insurance, administration, the cost of chemicals. The big kahuna is the water plant upgrade, which is underway, that is funded by a grant and low interest bonds. And in order to keep ourselves afloat, so to speak, we propose a rate increase of $1 per 1,000 gallons used from $7 per thousand to $8 per thousand. On the sewer side, the budget is presented at $856,400. With a proposed rate increase from $13.50 to $14 per 1,000 gallons of water used. Again, all of our utilities, insurance, administration, sludge hauling has gone up. The other factor is that we are heading for a sewer plant upgrade, and that looks like we have lined up a grant and currently a low-interest loan, which we'd like to be able to convert into a grant, but we'll be getting prepared to be able to start to fund that upgrade. So with that, I'm going to open the public hearing.
Second?
Okay. 1 sec. I just want to make a note about the nature of public hearings. So basically, this is a chance for anybody in the budget to tell us what they think of the budget, to give us their information. We're not really here to do question and answers. Board members may respond if you want to respond at this time, or you can respond or not when we have our own discussion after the meeting. So I will recognize, oh, we don't have the podium. Let's see. Nope. Grab one of the mics.
I know.
Yeah.
You can take ours.
I mean, we can do what the planning board does and just pull that table over and we can sit down.
Gotcha.
It looks ways.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Testing, testing. There we go. Okay. So with that small technical detail out of the way, what I'd like to say is that I will recognize folks in the audience. I ask that you state your name and that you have 3 minutes to give your remarks. And with that, I open the public hearing. Anybody who would like to speak?
Well, I need you to
Oh, I need a vote. Excuse me.
have a second.
Second, motion to, vote to open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? No. Motion carries. Okay, the public hearing is open. Do we have any public comment? Pregnant pause.
That's a first.
Give it another minute. All right. Well, hearing no public comment, I will make a motion to close the public comment period.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we will now continue on with our regular meeting.
Wait, do we want to talk about the budget?
Oh, okay, I was going to do an adoption after.
Oh, all right, then great. Let's do
Yeah,
it.
okay. So I'd like to open the floor for just regular general public comment at this time. Same rules apply. If you would like to say something, please give your name, address your concerns or thoughts to the board, and keep it to 3 minutes. So, public comment.
Just have, like people showing up for the fun.
I was gonna say, right? Oh, give it another minute here and something comes to mind. We're always available by email. Okay, well, hearing no public comment, we're going to move on. So the next thing I would like to do is amend the agenda with the board's permission to adopt our budgets. So I guess a motion to amend the agenda?
It's not on, you don't have to do
You don't
that.
have to do it? Okay. So I'm going to amend the agenda with your
Indulgence.
indulgence. Okay, and I'm going to do this in three parts. So I'd like to make a motion to adopt the General Fund 25-26 budget as presented.
Second?
Okay, folks, discussion. Eleanor?
Yeah, I have a question, and I don't know, I'm not sure if it fits, which category it fits in, but the additional fire protection is up just a tiny bit more than it was.
That's, I think this number is the annualized figure, whereas what's in the budget is the prorated figure.
Well, we had that whole back and forth in the minutes, and wasn't it 51,000 something? I was just curious.
Yeah, but
I believe the 51 is the annualized, I'm sorry, this is the prorated number.
Hillside, and then
so that's just the Hillside district. We also have
Okay.
numbers for the rest of the protective districts that we do.
And they were increased? Or?
Yeah, they were increased at the beginning with the town's 2025 budget, so.
Yeah, okay, so additional side, that is not, so it does not represent solely the hillside, the town's hillside district, protective district, which we now are responsible for.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions, Vanessa? Lydia?
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, take it away.
I do have, I mean, I'm supporting the budget. I think there's some really good things in it, but I do have some concerns. And that is that we need to be cognizant of the economy and what may or may not be happening.
Let's go to a different one.
How's your, like you're on that. Oh.
Battery
You're
might be gone.
Yeah, no problem.
I think that we really need to be cognizant of the economy and that we do have vulnerable citizens. They might not always be as visible as some of us are. And I noticed that the water rates are going up 16.7%, sewer up 3.7%, I believe. I'm still not quite clear. And there's a proposal to institute a utilities tax, which would be 1%. And I know if you don't use a lot of water, it might not be a lot of dollars. But if your budgets are already stretched, it could be a problem. Not everybody I know, and not everybody's on sewer, but for example, I live in Village Green, and because I don't pay water and sewer, it didn't even, I think I'm bad luck or something. I feel like Harry Potter. So, all right, let me try to speak loudly here.
Sorry.
All right, it's not your fault, it's the batteries or something. It just hit me that, you know, just recently, because I don't pay sewer and I don't pay water except through my rent, it's not really always in the back of my mind, but I'm thinking of somebody who lives, you know, is a renter. There's a, you know, increase in water, there's going to be an increase in sewer. We do pay our own electricity, and I know that the sewer and the water, if that goes up, I know my rent is going to go up. So these people are going to be hit 3 times, and I just think we need to be a little bit, you know, we need to be thoughtful about other people. The other thing is that the trustees, our salaries, it hasn't, you know, in hearing the proposal would go up 13.1%. The mayor would go up 17.8%, and it just, you know, there's just a disconnect there in my mind. So I think we need to be cognizant of that as we move forward.
I would point out that the last change in sewer was over 10 years ago. So we've been able to hold sewer rates quite level. And the last water increase was $1 back in 2022. So I think folks are trying to be very cognizant of keeping rates down, but I think the projects that we have to undertake are part of the challenge.
I was fully in favor of the water because that came out clearly in the numbers that clearly needed to be adjusted. I'm just saying that if we hit them with all 3 of these, we haven't voted on the gross receipts tax, but if we hit them with all 3, I'm just saying we really need to be thoughtful about this, and we need to think about our more vulnerable citizens and how this will impact them.
We will have a discussion over the gross receipts utility tax, but it's not included in this budget. It is not budgeted for in this budget.
I think it's also important to note that raising trustee salaries from $10,600 a year to $12,000 a year seems like a large percentage increase, and it is. It's a double-digit percentage increase. In raw dollars, can you hear me?
Turn up the back, use your volume in the back.
Oh my goodness. Hello, hello,
It goes
hello, hello. All right, whatever. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
That in raw dollars, it still has us generally as an hourly rate at less than minimum wage. And so I agree that like when you do the math and the percentage tumbles out, it seems like a large number, but when you look at the actual dollar figures and, you know, how much time and effort we put into this job, and if you sort of calculate out the hourly rate, we're still like barely touching minimum wage. And so I just think it's important to note that inside the conversation around the percentage.
Lydia, any additional comments? Okay, with that, I'm going to close the discussion. And I'd like to call a vote to adopt the 2025-2026 general budget. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
I said aye, but
Very good. Very good. We're all going to have to speak up. So motion carries. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt the 2025-2026 water budget, and that does include the $1 increase per 1,000 gallons of water consumed.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, discussion. I'll start with you, Lydia, since we're going. I'll start on your side. Any discussion?
Just in terms of the rate increases, I mean, Ty and Bond did a whole report for us, I don't know, 4 years ago? Not even, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. And we delayed this increase last year, the recommended increase, and so, you know, it's sort of the cost of doing business, and here we are.
Okay. Vanessa, any comments?
No, just echoing what Lydia said. It's really critical that we are able to pay for the improvements that we need to make to the plant. So we have to increase rent.
Okay, and Elmore.
just quickly reiterate what I said, which is that the numbers clearly showed that it wasn't paying for itself. The rates were no longer adequate and that something needed to be done.
Okay, any additional comment? All right, I'd like to close this? No. I'd like to call for a vote. Excuse me, I'd like to call for a vote to adopt the 2025-26 water budget as presented.
We already-
Oh, wait a second, I'm sorry. I'm calling for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, last one. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the 2025-2026 sewer budget, which does include a 50-cent per 1,000 gallons consumed rate increase.
Second.
Thank you.
Sorry.
All right, I'll begin the discussion, and then I'll start with you, Eleanor, your side.
I've already said that I wasn't 100% in favor. I thought we could put the 50 cents, instead of doing 50 cents this year, we could do $1 next year. But that's is what it is. I lost that argument.
I think when we received the studies from Ty and Bond, generally one of the things I said is that it is better practice to do more slow increases rather than socking it to people all at once. So I don't know, we just have some disagreement about that, but that's the suggestion, and that's information that we got from our engineers. To follow up on that.
Well, I'm still not clear what we passed, or what supposedly was passed. Are we going to raise it another 50 cents next year? Or?
We'll make that decision next year.
That decision will be made next year.
Yeah.
Vanessa?
I just have a comment on that, because next year, we're not sure if we're gonna have the sewer project completed, and if the 26, 27 will have the principal and interest in that. So I guess we need to wait and see how far we get with the sewer project itself.
Right. We also don't know where Locust Hill is. Right.
Right.
There's some other
Some
factors.
bigger, yes.
Yeah.
Eleanor?
No, I don't think we should count on Locust Hill, though, unfortunately. It's back, and I've been at a couple of the town board meetings, and
It's not
had a
looking
big
good?
set- Yeah, it's had a big
Oh, boy.
setback.
Okay. Well,
That'll be down the road, so.
well, the budget is for our existing plan as it runs, right, for existing plan as it runs this day without those factors factored in. Okay, I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor of adopting the 2025-2026 sewer budget?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'd like to move on to our treasurer for the treasurer's report.
Okay, treasurer's report is for the period ending March 31st. The general fund ended the month with $392,183.84. The water fund ended the month with $89,448.04. And the sewer fund ended the month with $79,266.34. Vouchers presented for payment in the general fund total $116,107.85. We have one Elon credit card amount that we're doing separate because we're going to be doing that via a bank check in the amount of $4,991.68. Water, $55,329.90. Sewer, $30,350.45. Escrow, $3,552.69. Compost facility bill for $720.86. The water treatment plant upgrade project, $10,395, and the wastewater treatment plant and sewer improvements, $1,217.50.
Motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Or just to pay the bills.
Just to pay the bills.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, I'll move on that the monthly operating statement is provided with revenue and expenditures through April 8th. The water and sewer April billing, the monthly bills for water went out at $29,926.35, and the sewer, $36,833. Those are due April 25th. The quarterly billing for water, $143,471.51. Sewer, $87,558.81, and those are due by May 23rd without penalty. I'd also like to just report that notices went out with the customers in their water bills, just reminding them that any outstanding balances, not their current, but their past outstanding balances will be added to their tax bill. And then,
As per usual.
as per usual, yes. It's always, yes.
Make that clear.
Tax time.
It's not, yes, it's nothing here. And then if you wanted to just do the one water.
Okay, so we did have, my mic is dead too. So we did have one water bill issue that just came up. The folks at 30 Orchard Street, who are, thank you, or a new customer, opened their account to find out that they'd had a water leak.
Oh dear.
Yes, and their water bill, which for this residence was normally the minimum, was $585.89 rather than the usual, what would have been $60. So this is their opening, this is their opening balance.
So welcome to.
Welcome to Rhinebeck, right? And obviously they've just moved in, or just taken ownership of the house. So they asked, they sent a letter to us asking the board if we could provide some relief. And I did look at our code, our water code.
we are able to amend bills and do such for extenuating circumstances. And I think seeing as this is a new account and somebody just moved in, and obviously sometime between the time that somebody moved out and somebody moved in, something happened.
It's the joy of moving in winter.
You're right. So I had a quick discussion with our treasurer, and we thought we could forgive $300 of this bill, which would then render it at $285.89. So I'd like to make a motion to do so.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, I'm sorry, Rick, I have one more just thing, my budget amendments. So, I just have a few of them.
Okay.
So,
That was for that.
in account 9730, we had budgeted interest for Safe Routes to School, but we did not end up taking a band out. So I'm proposing to decrease that 24,000, increase the retirement ERS 7,593, increase the retirement police 11,300, and the Social Security employer share by 5,107. These are over budget items. Also, to reduce the other performing arts for 2,500 and increase trees for tree planting, and reduce that other performing arts by 1,000 and increase zoning by 500, planning by 500, and that would be to upgrade the audio recording device for the planning and zoning board.
Great, sorted that out. That's great.
That's it, that's all I have.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to accept the budget amendments as presented.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you, Karen. I think. I don't know. All right, we're going to move on to purchase requests. And yes, Vanessa, I'm going to shoot to you. And I looked at this earlier, and whatever's on our folder seems to be not readable. Sometimes I looked at it earlier today.
Which one?
Any of them. I got, it says, not. Okay. So, well, Vanessa, this is you, so I'm gonna.
Okay.
Thank you.
So this project is is an effort to reduce fossil fuel infrastructure at the wastewater treatment plant. We had $10,000 in a grant from our participation in the NYSERDA Clean Energy Communities Program. And this was $10,000 left over from the project at the police department. So I'd like to make a motion to accept the proposal from Sigma Tremblay for $29,000.
Second.
All right, discussion, let me just give a little bit more background.
Sure.
We got quotes from 3 different companies. This is for a cold climate heat pump system. So this is replacing the furnace in the building.
Oil powered, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this will also replace not just the heating, but also the AC, like the window unit ACs, and some of the rooms don't have AC, I believe. So this is giving cooling in the summer as well as heating in winter. Sigma Tremblay's quote provides a lot of flexibility in terms of the different zones and the different parts of the building, and their price is the best compared to the other quotes. This is the same firm that we worked with on the police department, and they did a good job, so I feel confident working with them. And when you actually add in that $10,000 grant money and a $4,800 rebate from Central Hudson that we think we'll be able to get, the village is really only out $14,200 for a new heating and cooling system.
It's great.
So provide a really needed upgrade environmentally down there, make more environmentally sound,
Yes.
and a better working environment for the guys.
Right. Human environment, planetary environment.
All good. Any additional discussion? Okay, I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next item on the agenda is awarding a bid for a fire tanker. So we have our chief, Brian Knapp. Would you like to give a little background as to how we got to this bid and where we're coming from?
Sure. We got to.
I was just gonna say, I can't help you with the microphones, but you.
That's fine. I'm loud enough.
Yeah.
I'm Assistant Chief Knapp from the fire department.
You're the chief.
Yes. Chief. Sorry. And public speaking, you know. So we got to this project. Everything is being replaced on a 5-year cycle with something new coming up. Per a study that was done about 12 years ago. In that study was also asked to have the tanker upgraded from a 1,500 gallon tanker to a 2,000 gallon tanker, which allows us for better firefighting and initial response with our equipment. We spent about 40 hours collectively working to try to design a tanker that was going to fit in the firehouse and be beneficial for the district throughout the community, and we believe we were able to do so with what we have.
Thank you.
And the bid that came in, the only bid that came in actually meets all the specs that we were looking for.
Very good. Okay. I would like to make a motion to accept the bid from Rosenbauer for $1,051,977.00 for our, what would be our new fire tanker. And just a couple of incidentals about this. Even the fact, as we were discussing this, there are parts of the chassis components of this fire truck went up about $35,000 even over the course of the beginning of our discussion from when we first started specking out, or we first heard about the cost of the tanker. So obviously we would like to lock in this price at this time because goodness knows where prices are going. And this is a spec. There was one question about the chassis. So the way this is going to get paid for, basically, is we're not paying for it now. With this motion, we will essentially get ourselves online. There are 2,000 vehicles?
There's approximately 2,000 ahead of us.
There are approximately 2,000 vehicles ahead of us. So at the time that our chassis is finally complete, which the guys tell me might be late 2025, time 2027, sorry, it's 20, sorry, doing math in my head, 2027. At that time, they will be sending us a bill for approximately $500 and something thousand. At that time, that board will have to make a decision. Either they will pay for that chassis then, and that would save a little bit overall money, or they won't pay for the chassis, and if they want a bond or whatever they're going to do to pay for the truck at that time. But they'll have to figure that out in 2027. That's not for us to do. Right now, it's for us to get online for this truck.
Can I just second the motion?
Certainly.
I don't think did we get one?
I'll
A
second.
second, okay.
Thank you.
Any additional discussion?
I think it's important to note that in conversations with Chief Knapp earlier today, he mentioned that the $35,000 increase was 100% due to tariffs. If those tariffs do go away, there's a possibility that the price may go back down. But this is the land that we're in. They apparently, Rosenbauer also, they raised ours 35%, $35,000. They raised other units that were in production up to what, 35%?
So some units have been raised up to 20-25%.
Right. And so as a result, some communities are deciding whether or not they're actually going to go through with the purchase. So, hopefully all of this will be resolved with whatever plan is in place, and I say that with all due respect. You know, the chaos going on at the federal level is real. And we're all having to deal with it. And, you know, $35,000 might not seem like a lot of money for a budget of $4 million, but it is.
Well, it took the overall price of the truck from under $1 million to over $1 million.
Right.
Okay, any additional discussion? All in favor of accepting the bid, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Just want to take a quick moment and really thank Chief Knapp for all the work that he did on this. You and the firehouse did a great job.
Thank you.
It's a committee of volunteers, hardworking firemen, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right. The last item I have under this is awarding the police radio and HVAC bids. I don't have,
So they were put up on the cloud.
okay. I can't seem to open them on my computer.
So these were all surplus items from the police department. It is 2 units of HVAC, the water tank heater, and then several police radios. By recommendation of Sergeant Dunn, we'd like to accept the bids for the police radios, but not for any of the HVAC equipment.
I think we could get more for that.
Yeah, we only received a few hundred for
Yeah.
each unit, and then like 200 for the water tank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
I agree.
the recommendation again would be to approve all the bids presented for the radios, deny the bids for the HVAC.
So moved.
There you go, second. Any additional discussion?
What do they want us to do with the HVAC equipment?
Request sealed bids.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So let's vote on that.
Okay, well, we have to accept, and then we can put the other things out for sealed bid. Yeah, okay. So this is voting on the motion on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. I would like to make a motion to put the remaining HVAC items out for sealed bid. And Martina, do you have a recommendation on how long it should be out for?
30 days.
30 days, okay. HVAC and water, thank you. I need a second.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Thank you, Vanessa. For whatever reason. Okay. So now we're on to resolutions and agreements.
That was me.
Yeah, it's you.
So, drum roll please. After taking the winter off, thank you very much for everybody's patience. I have in front of you a resolution to create the comp plan implementation committee. I am now pulling it forward so I can read it. In short, this is creating a standing committee for the village in order to implement the comprehensive plan. The current working group that's dealing with the zoning code would be folded into the comp plan implementation committee as a subcommittee. Any other sort of parties that have gotten started that want to come into subcommittees, they are more than welcome. The zoning code grant by the Department of State was very specific with their requirements on how we have to administer the grant. And the group of people, the composition and appointment as laid out in this resolution is pretty much pulled verbatim from that grant. There has to be a zoning advisory committee, and it feels like they're confusing the purpose of a zoning code with a comprehensive plan, but we'll go with it because they're the state and they're giving us $148,000. And so a member of the planning board, a member of the zoning board of appeals, if we have a climate smart task force, we have to include someone from there, and then additional, at-large members representing business community organizations, residents with experts in planning, architecture, economic development, sustainability, or historic preservation. So they just want to make sure that the areas of expertise are captured. So that's where that came from. The idea is that members would serve staggered 2-year terms. We'd have between 7 to 9 people, but ideally with not necessarily the same level of sprawl, but a healthy subcommittee system to really sort of inform the work. And there we go, as laid out in the resolution. This resolution also, and I just want to read this part out loud, the final resolved clause says, be it further resolved, the village board thanks the comprehensive plan committee created through resolution XYZ on October 26, 2021 for its extraordinary work and respectfully dissolves the body. So this resolution creates this new committee and then dissolves the existing committee at the same time.
Second.
Thank you. I did make that motion somewhere in that, in those words. I totally didn't. Make the motion to pass this resolution. Thank you, Rick.
Any additional comments or questions?
Yeah, I do have a comment. I think that this is extremely well laid out. It looks like a more daunting task, actually, than writing the plan, truth be told.
It's where the rubber hits the road.
Thank you for people who will commit to doing this. I do have a concern, which I have voiced before, and that is I think that everybody on this committee should be a resident of the village. If people can get on subcommittees, I think there will be plenty of room for people from the town, for example, to get on these subcommittees. I do think that the most important thing is to meet the qualifications of the criteria set out here in section 2. I think that's the most important thing. I'm not in favor of creating, like, almost call them lobbying groups, that certain people get to sit at the table. I mean, we could have all kinds of people who would want a seat at the table, senior citizens or renters or minorities or so on. So I think we should move away from that. I found actually that on the comprehensive plan, most of the people were there for the good of the village, but there were a couple that you sort of had to wonder, and sometimes the discussion could get a little bit corrosive because people were so intent on pushing through their particular agenda, and so having people with agendas is not a good idea. So I think that we need to be careful how we do this. And if we had 2 non-residents and it drops down to 7 people, then a third of the people would practically be non-residents. I know we don't like statistics, but I just kind of like
statistics.
Yeah, so I just kind of want to bring that out. So I say none, but I mean if we could at least limit ourselves to 1. And like I said, welcome them to the subcommittees, and maybe that way we can make sure that way we get a broader, because you're not going to get a very broad group. There's 4 people set,
Yeah.
For sure.
There's only so much you can do with
Right.
7 to 9 people.
Exactly.
Yep, I get that. I hear you, and I also wanted to mention in terms of sort of lobbying groups. I shared this resolution with the current members of the Comprehensive Plan Committee, soon to be former, and one of them asked, it would be great if under the listed area of expertise for implementation committee members to be housing affordability. And so it's sort of like, I told them that I would bring that to us and we would talk about it, but having someone with the expertise in housing affordability also begins to feel a little bit like a lobbying group, because those with expertise in housing affordability also begin to lobby for housing, for affordable housing. So, that is a question. I haven't really formed an opinion on it because I got that email sort of right before we got into this meeting, and so I've been churning on it. The interesting thing about businesses, and I would have no problem limiting it to 1 person on the sort of main committee, but we've never really done an analysis of how much of our tax base is supported by the businesses here in the community. We've also never done an analysis of how much our taxes are supported by senior citizens, but senior citizens as residents of this community are already welcome into the party. And having a good, diverse committee requires that we pay attention to all of that. And despite some of the frustrating conversations that happened on the Comprehensive Plan Committee level, I do feel like there was the committee was diverse enough that all attitudes and all sort of ideas were at least captured, whether or not they end up in the final plan, they were at least captured as part of the conversation. And interestingly enough, I thought that the most sort of intense lobbying happened not by anyone with any businesses in the village at all, and it happened to be a different issue altogether. But, you know, it is interesting, and like, you know, I think communities have this conversation all over the country, is like, how much influence do you allow the businesses to have? We're having this conversation on the federal level at the moment as well. But, you know, I think that we miss something in this community by not recognizing that our businesses are a vital part of it. How much voice we want to give them is a separate issue, but I do think that that recognition is important. And not allowing them to have any voice in any of these kinds of committees simply because they may not live here, even though they do support our tax base. They are, in many respects, some of the main reasons why a lot of us live here. Like, it feels like sort of like a different conversation than other sorts of groups, but I'd be delighted to hear other thoughts.
We could use the dread word stakeholders.
Oh, there we go, stakeholders, yes.
I agree. I think the businesses are part of our community, and I think that they need to be part of the conversation, because I think it will result in a more realistic and durable outcome.
Right.
But we're not saying businesses can't. It's very specifically listed in section 2.
Yeah, I mean,
So, I mean, they can be a business and a resident. I mean, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying not to put any business person on there, far be it. I mean, if the business person has some of the expertise that we're looking for, by all means, you know, recommend that person.
But I guess my point is, I think having a business in the village is like the element that would be productive to have in the conversation. You know, that's what I would be looking for. And whether or not that they also live in the village isn't as relevant for me.
right.
That's my point.
Yeah, that's also how I feel about it, and I made it very specific. The language that we used in the comp plan resolution was owners or operators of a business with frontage in the village center. And the point, and I mimicked it here, I also pulled some language from the tree commission. It was a hybrid effort. But the point of sort of the business with frontage in the village center was like a financial manager or a lawyer, or, you know, some of the, what, you know, are oftentimes referred to as like the second floor businesses, even though some of them actually do have ground floor frontage. They're not sort of understanding the impact that decisions that we're making, say about sidewalks or trees or parking or road configuration, have on the retail businesses. And so that was why, sort of under recommendation from the Chamber of Commerce, and I did let Luciano know that this was going to be happening at today's meeting, and so if you want to ask him any questions or if you want to invite him into this conversation, he's here. But it was more, you know, they can tell us exactly what's going on as a result of the town's short-term rental law. That, like, oh, you know, that we wouldn't know. They can sort of they know this information, and, you know, for good or for ill, right? But like, they're the ones that are paying attention to what's going on with the decisions that we're all making. And you know, I just think it's important.
Okay, I think we've kind of laid out the parameters of this discussion, but I don't see any movement to amend the language, so we'll leave it as is.
I mean, I'm happy to amend it to be limited to one person, but, you know, you're not beholden to that?
I'm not beholden to that. I mean, I think we have multiple stakeholders in multiple places.
Right.
So I would definitely do that. And these people are also getting, this is an implementation committee. They're not, if they start dreaming stuff up out of their minds, that's not what they're there for. This is to take
That's right.
all of that incredibly good hard work of the comp plan.
Detailed.
And detailed and put it into actual law. So they are going to be bound or held to some level of standards if they come in with some off-the-wall suggestion that is not, it's not in the comp plan. So any additional comments?
The only other question I had was about the housing affordability expertise, if that was something that we felt like we needed to include, or if that was something that could just be handled as part of gathering the people who are interested in thinking about this.
To me, that could be a subcommittee member.
Yeah.
Well, it could be there's no reason that couldn't be on the CPIC either. I mean,
Right,
there's
yeah,
nothing that
there's
says
nothing
we
that says
can't.
they
We're
can't.
You can't,
looking
you
for
can't,
people-
right,
We're
yeah.
looking for people who will roll up their sleeves and do
And then
work.
work.
We're
Right,
looking
work.
Yes.
for people who represent interest groups. And I really feel strongly we should not carve out interest groups for people, for
Okay.
different groups. I just feel very strongly. If there is a person who is highly qualified and has all kinds of frontage, that's fine, but I just think this needs to be really based on qualification, not on whether you have frontage or not.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just
Yeah.
feel very.
Well, I mean, I
strongly.
think that question will be resolved as we're appointing the folks. Like, we'll have the opportunity, I mean, obviously, I'll work to bring you a list of people who I think, are paramount workers and won't obey the usual 80-20 rule of committee work, where 20% of the people do 80% of the work.
I mean, honestly, this is a real hang-up for me, but we really need to move forward on this plan. I think we need to start the implementation. I will probably vote yes, but I'm just very disappointed that we're back to carving out, special favors for different groups.
I think we're fast approaching the 80-20 rule for time to action here. So any additional brief comments?
So I just wanted to make sure that folks understand that it says, all members of the CPIC shall be residents of the Village of Rhinebeck or owners or operators of a business with frontage in the village center. However, preference shall be given to appointing members who are village residents. So I feel like it's squishy enough that we can handle this one as thoughtful board members.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, I'm going to juggle the agenda just a little bit to push the Complete Streets Working Group resolution up a little bit higher because it really is related to this. We have a couple things, as usual, in the village that are in motion. Vanessa is working on getting us silver certification for our climate smart community. One of the things that they would like to see is us at least having concrete steps towards a complete streets program, if not implemented, at least a pathway to implementation. So what we're trying to do with this resolution is basically kickstart this working group, which will then fall under the aegis of the comp plan committee. But because we have a quick deadline, which is July 11th, we would like to get started pretty much immediately. So that's the nature of this. So basically, resolution is to create complete streets which encourage safe, pleasant, convenient conditions for all types of travel, including walking, bicycling, driving, and riding transit for people of all ages, incomes, and abilities. The members of it would be myself and Trustee Bertozzi. And then we will work with the implementation committee to bring this forward.
Well, and at least one member of the Comprehensive Plan's Transportation Subcommittee.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's you.
That's me.
Yeah, there you go, sorry. Okay, sorry.
That's me. Okay.
So this will only be two people then? Is that-
Yeah, this basically what we're trying to do is there are enormous guidelines to what makes complete streets. Dutchess County has guidelines, the federal government has guidelines. And so what we'd like to do is put together what looks like a reasonable package for Rhinebeck, at least lay out a path for implementation. That then can go and help Vanessa for our silver certification. And then as we continue to wrangle it along the pathway, we can continue to refine and see what we're doing. But it is basically to
move us forward so we can hit the deadline of July 11th.
And once the implementation committee is up and running, if you start creating subcommittees, like this could morph into a subcommittee around complete streets
Yeah.
and bring on other volunteers to that committee.
That's
if and
great.
when.
Yeah, I've already sort of tracked out 8 different subcommittees, and this is certainly one of them.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion for the resolution.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Call for a vote, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, motion carries. Okay,
This is great, thank you.
you're welcome. Vanessa, I'm going to return to you with the compost IMA.
Yes, so I'll just read this out. Whereas the village is running a compost program that has excess capacity, whereas the town board has expressed interest in enabling town residents to participate, whereas coordination and collaboration between the village and the town can provide efficient services for the public, and whereas I present this town-village compost agreement, IMA, to the village board governing the terms of the agreement, now therefore be it resolved that the village board agrees to approve the IMA town-village compost agreement, and basically give me the ability to pass it over to the town board, and we will consider it to be in effect upon the adoption of the town board. So I haven't shown this all to town board yet. I just wanted to get sign off from us first.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Pretty neat, it's good to expand the program.
Yeah, I think it's great. I had a quick chat with Vanessa about this, and at the moment, short of that $791 that we just passed as part of the treasurer's report, which is part of the grant,
Part of the
isn't it?
grant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what?
The 7, oh, the,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's part of the grant. But it's not costing, at the moment, the compost program is not costing us any money, because it's fully funded by the various grants that Vanessa procured. And the terms of this IMA allow us to revisit and renew it on every year, and at the end of 7 years, which is the current term of our agreement with Ellerslie Stables, where Mike is sort of, Michael DePaul is doing all of the work for free on our end of it. There's no reason to sort of have any kind of cost-sharing agreement with the town because there's no costs. But this agreement would terminate at the same time that the agreement with Ellerslie Stables is up for renewal. And so that gives us the opportunity, if there is a cost moving forward after that point, that we could then share the cost with the town.
Correct.
Yeah. The other thing too was that at the moment Vanessa's doing a lot of work but like managing who's signing up. And then, Martina gives out buckets. And so the town clerk would give out buckets. Martina, it's not like Martina would be managing town residents. The town would manage its own residents. Or its non-village residents, as we should say. So, I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't additional work sort of landing on your shoulders, Vanessa, or on Martina's shoulders as a result of this, and it doesn't really seem like there is.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So the town will be doing the advertising?
So if the town wants to say, do a mailing to all town, non-village residents, that they would pay for that, and be happy to consult with them and help them with the language so that our communication is consistent, but the town would handle that for themselves. Or like, say for instance, folks in Rhine Cliff really want a drop-off spot right there in Rhine Cliff, that would be up for the town to figure out how they wanted to pay for that, if that were something that they wanted to entertain. So what I'm proposing is that we basically enable town residents, if they want to, come into the village on their errands and drop off their compost in our existing drop spot, that's fine.
Great.
Trying to keep it really straightforward and streamlined.
So is there any limit on how much you would accept? I have no idea how many people
He's
would
got
eventually participate.
a lot of horse manure. So more food scraps right now, the better. I think it would be a good problem for us to have if we outgrew that dumpster. I think we have, Michael and I discussed it thoroughly. We have enough capacity, yeah.
Okay, any additional discussion? Call for a vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I'd like to move on to the letter of support for the Interact Club. You guys all have a chance to read this?
Yep.
Okay.
If you're finished with me, I'll say.
Good night, good night,
Thank you.
Karen.
Thanks,
Good night.
Karen.
Thank you for all your work on this.
Vanessa?
Thank you for all your work on the budget.
Yeah. Good night, Karen.
Good night, Karen.
Okay, so Vanessa.
All right, so we had a request from the Rotary's Interact Club, which is the high schoolers. They want to apply to a grant. I think the grant was actually, the application was already due, so we're hoping we can provide this letter of support just a tiny bit late. But they're proposing to do water quality testing on the Lansman Kill. And then pollinator habitat plantings at Crystal Lake Park, or at Legion Park. And so the letter basically says that we are in support of this proposal, and they're a great group of students, and that we will work with them on the details of what the pollinator planting would be. Probably working with the Parks Committee on that. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve this letter of support.
Second.
Yeah.
Any additional discussion? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now I'd like to move on to the approval of minutes. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of 3/11/25.
Second.
Any additional amendments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of 3/25/25.
Second is amended.
Yeah, all the confusion sorted out.
All corrections have been made.
Okay, okay, very good.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? No, thank you. Okay. Now we're moving on to committee reports. I'll do the tree commission here. So there are, well, the one thing you should know about, there are no action items right now, but at the end of the month, I'm going to make sure I get the timing right. We have,
Meg's dinner.
well, there's next dinner too. I need to look at my calendar here. The annual spring planting is coming up this year at
The 26th.
26th, I have to look at my calendar.
Oh.
No, 25th. Oh, I'm sorry, 26th, you're right, 26th, sorry. My daughter's birthday. Okay, on the 26th, and then actually that's the day before the Earth Day
That's right.
celebration as well. Okay. So folks, if you see tree planters out, you'll see some holes dug in and around the village, some equipment laid out during that week before the week of the 26th. And then on the 26th, you will see volunteers out planting trees for Rhinebeck. And I just point out that the Tree Commission has planted well over 400 trees around the village of Rhinebeck in its existence. So that's all for the Tree Commission report. Climate smart.
So as you mentioned, the second annual Earth Day celebration will take place in Rhinebeck on April 27th from 1 to 3 at the Thompson Mazzarella Park. And this is a free event for the community. It's being organized by the town's rec department and Climate Smart Rhinebeck, the village task force, is helping out. So we hope everybody comes out. We're gonna have that Raptor show again at 1:15, which is always a crowd pleaser. And Milo's Menagerie will be back, the 7th grade herpetologist, budding herpetologist will be there. And we'll have a bunch of other Rhinebeck Eco Expo tabling happening, including, I think, the tree commission will be there to talk about trees. So hoping everybody comes down. I am currently working on a draft of a policy that would require the village board to meet certain standards when constructing new municipal buildings or undertaking major renovations to municipal buildings. So I hope to bring that forward maybe at the next board meeting.
Is this in service of Climate Smart, or?
Yes. And yeah, just an update about community choice aggregation. Unfortunately, the pricing is still too high, so we decided not to move forward and accept either of the bids that we got. We may revisit pricing this month or maybe even in July. But right now, CCA is not looking promising, sadly. It's just too expensive.
There are choices available for individual from Central Hudson. You can
Yes, I would, if anybody really wants to pursue clean energy, I encourage people to subscribe to a CDG, Community Distributed Generation, or in other words, a community solar farm. You can actually get 10% off of your electricity. So, but that just means that you all have to go out and research that yourself.
Right. You can't
I can't do it for you.
There are links through the Central Hudson website that will
Yes.
take you, and you can see there are contracts with terms, and they lay out the prices. So if some folks out there are still interested in trying to put themselves completely on green energy, there are available options that are out there. Important to know.
Yeah.
And the prices are up, like 11 cents or something per kilowatt hour.
There were some, when I looked at the contracts, at least from Central Hudson, some were cheap, really cheap.
No, I meant in terms of the
Okay.
Central Hudson price, because remember, we had our floor. And
Yes.
now all of a sudden, our floor
Yeah.
looks different from what it looked a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, I don't know if you remember, but Josh Sager might be able to help you with that resolution policy idea.
Oh, great idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just keep that in mind. Thanks.
Okay.
And then lastly, thanks to volunteers who went out for the amphibian migration project this year. The migration started pretty early, and then mostly happened late at night, which was sort of difficult for volunteers to get out. But it's better for the critters because there's less traffic late at night, so less squished on the road.
Volunteers or.
So is that already survival of the fittest?
The quick and the dead.
Yeah. And that's it.
Anybody else? Okay. So moving on, we have a nice, oh, I'm sorry, Parks.
Parks,
Oh.
okay. The Lions Club, they kind of revitalized, and they're looking at the mini park, and they are putting together a proposal for the kiddie park. They've worked on it for quite a while. They worked with Game Time, and they chose a universal design that incorporates sensory experiences and focuses on inclusivity. They've told us that they've spoken to quite a few people in the community. They're looking to possibly raise $200,000. Right now, we're sort of on hold because we put in for a grant to do the drainage in the park, and I think we won't hear till July. And so they can't really, I'm not sure how they feel about fundraising until they know what's going to happen with that park. So that's, we're just giving them our feedback. They came to us because we're a new committee, and so they asked us for our feedback. So we're going to give them the feedback, and then they'll decide whether, at some point they'll have to make a presentation, I would say, to the board. They're emphasizing that they want a concept plan without necessarily haggling over all the details, because they want to feel comfortable that they can go out, and they don't want to raise the money unless there's a sense that people will be in favor of the concept, even though they might have some questions like, should we remove that tree or should we move that fence there? All right, so that's where that's at.
Great.
Let's see, there's going to be a parks cleanup day, May 31st and June 1st. The Lions usually do that every year. So they probably, I'm guessing they're going to put in mulch, which they usually do every year.
Actually the bedding for the
Yeah,
play
right,
areas.
right,
Yeah.
yes. And they're also I think they're going to be raising funds so that the swings can be put back up, because those were an issue at the last inspection. Let's see.
I think they're moving pretty quickly on the swings.
I think so, yeah. But I mean, you know, you got to make sure you have the money, and then you put in the order, and then it doesn't show up when it's supposed to. So, but they are.
Such optimism.
You're like, optimistic view, really.
Well, realistic. But anyway, we're talking about, but this needs more discussion. We want to find a way to communicate with the community, maybe have some information on the website, update the website, but that's maybe a little bit in the future. We've already gotten some requests, but we put those on. One was a request to place a plaque, so we asked the people to be patient because we don't really have a policy for memorials, and we want to have a policy before we move forward on that.
Add any new ones that we don't keep track of?
I mean, if we do it, we want to do it right.
Yes.
That's important.
And then we're going to put together a work group to come up with design recommendations for the Doughboy Park. The Rhinebeck Flower Club, Garden Club actually, I'm thinking flowers. They want to plant flowers around that dead tree, but they don't want to do that if the tree will be removed after they plant the flowers. So they put in a request, which we've kicked over to the tree commission in terms of recommending whether to take the tree down, and then we'll take the next step once we.
Is that tree actually dead, or is it just really
It's
suffering?
pretty dead.
Yeah, okay.
It's pretty dead. So I think it should come down. And the next meeting's on Monday. If anybody wants to come, it will be at the Star Library, Fraser Room.
Great,
Okey-doke.
amazing.
All right. This is something that's fun and nice to be able to announce. Our own village clerk, Martina McClinton, has completed a series of exams. Is that correct?
It's a continuing education / experience requirement. It's the RMC Registered Municipal Clerk Certification, which is given by the New York State Association of City and Village Clerks.
So you are now an official registered municipal clerk.
I am, after 5 years.
After 5 years. Thank you. Well earned. Okay. I remind folks that all correspondence is on file in the clerk's office, and with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
7:18.
17 minutes.
I don't know what the...
I'm gonna get home in time to watch the song.